Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I am Benjamin Dixon, host of the Benjamin Dixon Show podcast, YouTube channel, etc., etc. You can find me just about anywhere. You may go to thebenjamindixonshow.com, register for my newsletter where I break down the issues in 3 bullet points. I give you critical insights in 3 bullet points. It's called To the Point. And so now let's get to the point. Bob Woodward, one half of the Woodward and Bernstein duo that broke the Watergate story that eventually brought down Richard Nixon. He has a new book out that has the president of the United States furious. The new book is entitled Fear, Fear, Trump in the White House. Now, if you know anything about journalism, you know who Bob Woodward is, and you know his credibility. And since 1971, since he broke the story of the Watergate scandal, he has consistently been referred to as one of the most consistent and trustworthy journalists with the highest level of journalistic integrity. This doesn't mean that he can't make a mistake, but I would definitely say he has more incentive to protect the reputation that has made his entire career than anything else. I start with that because some of the allegations that are coming out of this book are what we would expect from Donald Trump, yet they are still unbelievable. And I want to go through a couple of the topics that are some of the key themes that are addressed in the book. According to the Washington Post, who broke this story on yesterday, quote, a central theme of the book is the stealthy machinations used by those in Trump's inner sanctum to try to control his impulses and prevent disasters, both for the president personally and for the nation he was elected to lead. Woodward describes an administrative coup d'etat and a nervous breakdown of the executive branch, with senior aides conspiring to pluck official papers from the president's desk so that he couldn't see or sign them. So in other words, the people around Donald Trump are pulling every stunt they possibly can to prevent a disaster. One of those disasters is a personal disaster for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's attorney, John Dowd, said this, or rather, this is what Bob Woodward reported. He said, quote, John Dowd was convinced that President Trump would commit perjury if he talked to special counsel Robert S. Mueller III. So on January 27th, the president's then personal attorney staged a practice session to try to make his point. In the White House residence, Dowd peppered Trump with questions about the Russia investigation, provoking stumbles, contradictions, and lies until the president eventually lost his cool, saying, quote, this thing's a goddamn hoax. Trump erupted at the start of a 30-minute rant that finished with him saying, I don't really want to testify. Wow. It gets worse. Here's another quote from the Washington Post, who broke the story about Donald Trump's cluelessness with regard to why we are in South Korea. Quote, at a National Security Council meeting on January 19th, Trump disregarded the significance of the massive U.S. military presence on the Korean Peninsula, including a special intelligence operation that allows the United States to detect a North Korean missile launch in 7 seconds versus 15 minutes from Alaska. According to Woodward, Trump questioned why the government was spending resources in the region at all. And this line right here is something. He said, Mattis said this, we're doing this in order to prevent World War III, Defense Secretary Jim Mattis told him. After Trump left the meeting, Woodward recounts, Mattis was particularly exasperated and alarmed, telling close associates that the president acted like and had the understanding of a 5th or 6th grader. Again, these are not things that are surprising because it's Donald Trump, but they're still shocking at the level of ignorance that the president genuinely operates in, and to the terrifying notion that this is the man who is in charge of our nation and is in charge of our nuclear arsenal. Here's something that, if you talk about things that actually matter substantively, it's strange because the substantive things, the true things that would disqualify Donald Trump, probably won't register with the American public. because it's all baked into the system. We know Donald Trump is a moron. But this next thing is something that actually could hurt Donald Trump politically. His opinion and what he said, allegedly said, according to the book, about Jeff Sessions. Quote, Trump called Sessions a traitor for recusing himself from overseeing the Russian investigation. Woodward writes, mocking Sessions' accent, Trump added, this guy is mentally retarded. He's this dumb Southerner. He couldn't even be a one-person country lawyer down in Alabama. Now, again, his insult of Jeff Sessions, I don't really care about the Keebler Klansman, as I refer to him. He doesn't need to be in office. But this is low-hanging fruit. This is not as substantive as the other issues. However, this may be the one that resonates with his evangelical Southern base. They probably will just reject it and pretend like, oh, these are all lies and fabrications. But deep in their heart, they absolutely know this is Donald Trump's true opinion of people from the South and his opinion of Jeff Sessions. Now, here's one that I think, again, doesn't surprise me, but absolutely shows who Donald Trump really is. This is what he said with regard to the Charlottesville riot and his subsequent his condemnation of Nazis that he reluctantly gave. He said, quote, Trump was sharply criticized for initially saying that both sides were to blame. At the urging of advisors, he then condemned white supremacists and neo-Nazis, but almost immediately told aides that was the biggest effing mistake I've made and the worst speech I've ever given, according to Woodward's account. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Donald Trump is the white supremacist in chief. He understands. I mean, he's a moron in many ways, but he understands his support base. If Donald Trump isn't astute in anything else, it's who elected him. It's in understanding who elected him. He understands who his core support group is. And this demonstrates that he is fully aware that he is supported by neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and white nationalists across this country. And that's why he hated this. And this is why he said, and keep in mind, somebody died. Someone died in Charlottesville as a result of these neo-Nazis and these fascists. But that didn't matter to Donald Trump. He said that this was the biggest effing mistake he's ever made. This is genuinely who Donald Trump is. Donald J. Trump is.